Viewers, welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. That's our 2016, I believe it is, 2015 Ford. It's the F250, the truck that built America. I don't know if any of those statements are true. I'm not even sure what engine's in it. It's a gas engine. I got a slip here from the dealership. The guy took it to the Ford dealer because his Advance Trac is on here. Yeah, the Advance Trac fault message, it says, is on the dash. Please check and advise. It states here that they scanned DTCs. They found a U28 network failure. They tried to PMI the ABS module. It's saying the VIN doesn't match the ABS module. Recommend replacing ABS module. Quote for the repair is $754.15. Quote includes parts and labor before tax. So that's what they did. They looked at it. They tried a PMI. So if you're not familiar with Fords, that is programmable module installation. Essentially, they tried to flash it. They tried to do a programming on it. Is the short story on that. They said that the computer states that the VIN doesn't match, and then he needs a new module. So he just wants to be sure. He doesn't want to. He's willing to fix it. He just doesn't want to dump $800 into it, unnecessarily if that's not what it needs. But if that's what it needs, then that's what he wants fixed. So let's grab the truck, bring it in, and see if that's what it needs. Got a little step here again here. Work truck, 150K on it. Turn off the heater here. Fire it up. Check brake system, it says. Oil change required. 4x2. Service Advance Trac. Check brake system, and then the red brake light and the skid light are on. Brake pedal feels normal. Let's pull in and see what the world's going on here. 6.2 is the engine size. We're using the Harbor Freight, the Icon, the T10. So let's get loaded up. We'll do a full system scan on it. Oftentimes, if there's a module that's not talking or has lost communication, so to speak, the other modules will tattletale on it, basically stating that they can't talk to it, or they did have something there indicating that it was saying it was the incorrect VIN. Alright, so we're going to go topology here, all code scan. Oh, okay, so we can talk to the ABS module, so that's good. I just wonder if it's just corrupt, has some erroneous data there or something. Be kind of weird that it's lost its VIN number. And if that's the case, doing what they did, doing the PMI would have been what I would have tried anyways. Okay, all said and done. Let's go. Let's just look at the report. It's just easier to do it that way instead of clicking through. Let's see what we have here. A private communication network. A U3002 vehicle identification number. That's pretty weird. I'm not familiar with either one of those two codes there in the ABS module. HVAC has one for invalid data received from the PCM. PCM has ambient temp circuit A high, so those two codes are going to go hand in hand. If the engine computer is having a problem with the ambient air temp, the HVAC is probably looking to receive that data from the PCM. It's trying to get that data off the network. It doesn't see it, so that's why it'll have invalid data received. So those two codes go hand in hand. And the restraint control module has vehicle communication bus A. So this is pretty bizarre. It appears, we'll just pop in the ABS wheel right here and see if we can read the data from it. See if we can read the VIN number that's in it. Maybe under module information. No, it just has hardware and calibration numbers. Yeah, so there's your PMI, your programmable module installation, which typically what that does, like if we want to put a new ABS module in it, we would start with a PMI. You push the PMI button. I know on Altel it never works. I don't know if it works on a launch-based scan tool, but what technically it's supposed to do is take the data from the good module that's in the car, saves it on the scan tool, you put the new module in, and then it rewrites that data to it. I've never had it work with aftermarket scan tools. The only ones I've had it work with aftermarket are ForScan. And no, I didn't say ForScan, ForScan. Their PMI section usually works, but I know on Altel I've never had it work. Just in my experience. Well, I'm going to poke around here, and then I'm going to look up those codes. I don't know if there's if they have the VIN in here. I kind of doubt it. Yeah, I'm going to do some poking here at any rate and see what I come up with. And then we'll go from there. I'll look up those codes. It might be pretty cut and dry and just see if there's any service bulletins, but it's looking like the dealer diagnosis is probably right. I didn't see much useful in not service data, but in the data stream there. I printed out our codes and I just want to go through and look. So the first one I'm looking at for the ABS system is this I just want to make sure we're not going to misdiagnose this. This U28 private communication network. And so this is kind of interesting. This here, so I looked up the code. Ford service data is kind of weird. It goes to this pinpoint test, and usually you've got to go through and kind of pick out what you can out of there. But our U28 private communication network missing message. So that's interesting. And it says here, this DTC sets in continuous memory and on demand when the expected message, such as yaw rate sensor, lateral accelerometer, or longitudinal accelerometer missing for more than 5 seconds. So it looks like the ABS is looking for these inputs from the yaw rate, lateral, and longitudinal, that's a tough word, accelerometers. Scroll back up, and they state that the yaw rate sensor, lateral and longitudinal accelerometers, I don't know why I can't say that word, are contained in the RCM. So that's your airbag module, your restraint control module. The restraint control module measures vehicle's yaw rate, roll rate, lateral, and longitudinal acceleration, and then sends the information to the ABS module along a dedicated CAN. This dedicated CAN is used only for communication between the restraint and the ABS. So that's pretty key. It's not saying the ABS module isn't bad, but this is basically stating that it has its own, LIN bus, so to speak. It has its own little network that goes between the airbag module and the ABS. This information sent to the ABS module is used to help determine if Advance Trac system needs to be activated. And basically, the ABS light is on because it's missing one of these inputs. Yaw, lateral, or longitudinal accelerometer is missing. Okay, so that's what this code sets for. This U280087. That's why that code is setting. But also look at this. Do you guys remember? We were all up in the restraint control module, vehicle communication bus A. I'm going to look into that and see, because if there's a communication problem on this private network that runs between ABS and a restraint control module, then certainly we can have, oh dude, got a little click happy here. Certainly we could have this code, right? We're in the service manual. Sometimes this poking apparatus does not work great on this screen, oddly enough. I wonder if we can see this little little network here. We'll go computer data lines. We'll see if we can't find the ABS module and see if indeed it is just its own little private network. Audio, front controls, APIM, GPS, there's the cluster. Let me just see if we can't find it here. We'll just do this lab. Okay, so here's the ABS. Okay, yeah, look at this. So it says HS CAN YAW plus, or YAW, yeah, and high speed CAN plus and minus. And I'll be dang, look at that, it does go. You guys probably can't really tell in there, but ABS has its regular high-speed CAN that talks to all the other modules, but indeed it does have this dedicated network that goes strictly to the restraint control module. It does have a couple connectors along the way. It looks like a C1415 and a C110, so perhaps wherever these are at, we can break it down to check and see if there is a you know, a connection issue or something between those two. That's why it's not happy. So that's interesting. I'm going to pause the camera for a minute. I'm going to look into this U002808 that is stored in the restraint control module, see if that kind of agrees with this code here, the 1A0087. You know, see what this says, if it's having problems maybe receiving data from the ABS, because then we will know that either, you know, module is bad or there is some corruption here on the data. Obviously it's not disrupting the high-speed communication, so that's interesting, and they both run through the same connector, C210, so and then up here, both networks run through this C4115. So that's something to think about. The connections are pretty close, pin 45, 44, 45, 47, 48. So you would think if there was some corrosion, we would have some issues there. I don't know if there's terminating resistors on either end of that little private network. If say there's 120 ohm here, 120 ohm there, or 260 ohms. Sometimes these independent networks are terminated a little different. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna poke into that code, and then we may also look into this U3002 where it just says vehicle identification. So let me do some more poking, but I did want to share that with you just to show you that it appears that we could have a network issue, and it could be just missing the signal, or we could have a restraint control module that's bad, leading us to believe that the ABS module is bad, in which case you'd be wrong. Bring you guys up to speed with the first one I looked up was this VIN, the U3002 that's stored in the ABS. Pretty interesting here. Takes us right to a pinpoint test. It says when the ignition is turned to the run position, the ABS module and the body module share VIN information. So they compare. The body module says, here's who I am, who are you? Shares it over the high-speed CAN network. This code, the U3002, VIN number, or VIN, I guess, vehicle identification number, signal compare failure is its definition. This code sets in continuous memory and indicates that the VIN message sent by the BCM over the high-speed network does not match the VIN in the ABS module. And then basically what they do is they have you go on the scan tool and look at what they call the log viewer. I don't remember seeing that on an aftermarket tool, so that may be a Ford only thing. It says, does VIN and the log viewer match the vehicle VIN plate? If not, carry out a PMI for the body module. So they want you to reprogram the body module, test for normal operation, and then they want you to retrieve and record the ABS module part number from the log viewer, see if it's correct. If not, do a PMI. If that does not work, replace the ABS module. So it's pretty short here, not a lot to go on there. So that's kind of curious. It doesn't state that if there's any other codes to go through and fix those first. Sometimes, you know, codes like this will be just erroneous. They just pop up just because. So we're gonna have to kind of keep that in our back pocket. I don't know if he has 2 issues or if it's just a single issue or not, but this definitely is something to consider. So this is kind of exciting, despite the VIN number thing here, maybe throwing a little wrench in the mix. The code, that U28 that's stored in the airbag module, you go here and it states that the you know, the airbag module, let's see, it contains the yaw and roll rate, latitude, longitude, all that stuff, and it talks to the ABS module, which we already know over its own private network. And it says here, if the airbag module detects a fault with communication with the ABS module or the dedicated CAN circuit, it will set this code. So that's basically our airbag module just confirming that there's some sort of issue on this private data network. It says here, I haven't read this part yet, so we're gonna read it together. When the restraint control module does not receive dedicated CAN bus messages from the ABS module, a fault is indicated. So if, you know, just like the ABS module is tattletale saying, hey, I'm not receiving stuff from the airbag airbag is also saying, hey, I'm not receiving stuff from the ABS. It does state that it will not turn on the airbag light, though, for this fault. An open circuit on the dedicated CAN bus, an incorrectly installed ABS module, or loss of power or ground to the ABS module can set this code. Whoa. So that's something to think about. I think, this is strictly my opinion, that we should see if we can find some place to tap into this network where these two are talking, find out who they've been talking with, who they've been dealing with. Trying to decide what the best next step's going to be. I did find in service data that it does have 2 120 ohm resistors, so we can check total network resistance. It would be really nice if there was a data link connector for this, you know, this little network here. Other than that, looking through service data is just the trail of hopeless dreams, unplugging everything, checking resistance on the wires, which we know is you know, completely invalid and terrible test to do. So we'll have to determine where these connectors are, where the best place to come into the system is. We can check terminating resistance from whatever point is easiest to split it apart, and then obviously inspect connectors for, you know, corrosion or anything that's messing with the network. And then if that appears to be all intact, we have to determine which of the 2 modules is wrong, which is not working. As far as checking powers and grounds, I'm not sure yet, because both modules communicate and we can talk to both of them on the high-speed network. Now, that does not mean that the powers and grounds are good with those modules. It can be assumed that they likely are because they do talk. Oftentimes modules will have more than just a single power and a single ground. So I'm going to do some more poking and just have a look at some wire diagrams, see what they're made of. Because we don't want to make an assumption, but if it does look like they have 1 power and 1 ground on each one, or, you know, something like that, we're not going to get too excited about it. But from what we read and what we see, and what we've learned so far, it definitely sounds like a communication breakdown more than anything. Enough staring at screens this morning. I'm a paper guy, old school. Printed this out, our diagram that we're looking at already, our network. And then I guess I should share my plan with you. My plan is to see what's going on this data network. And by that I mean let's see if our physical layer is there. You know, are we just dealing with a broken wire and it's lost communication between these 2 modules and the whole VIN number thing? We're going to kind of stick the VIN number portion of it in our back pocket for right now. I think we need to determine, is this, I don't know what to call it, the private network, is that intact? Is it physically there? Are the wires good? Best way to tell that, split the system in half, check resistance both ways. And then if that's good, then good is good. If you guys remember correctly, when we looked at this diagram I don't know, let's see here if I can flip my viewfinder so I can see what you guys see, but here's our ABS module, and remember it came to this connector, this 4115, came down around town, went to another connector, C210. Not knowing where either one of those are, I printed out the where are you connector list. It shows the C210 inside the cab somewheres, okay? It says behind left side of instrument panel is all it said, and I believe it's a big old honker. It is. I printed out the what's the connector look like diagram, so there's that. So it is a big connector we'll be looking for, a big inline connector. And then the other connector, the C1415, looks like it's probably back there somewheres. Hopefully it's supposed to be under the hood. And that's not a big giant connector. It is an inline connector, and I printed out the what do you look like diagram. And I got that big sucker. Of course we have, you know, all the pinouts here on the next page. So I think I'm gonna find both, or find at least one of these. I don't care which one. Probably gonna aim for the one under the hood here. I'll get my step stool, see if we can find that. See if we can open it up, and I think the first thing we'll do is just a resistance check on the network both ways. We know that there's supposed to be 120 ohm resistor in both modules, so that should be easy enough to check. We just two wires, we go across it, and we check the terminating resistance of the network, and that will typically tell us if the physical layer of the network is intact. I'm probably going to unhook the battery just to make sure there's no talking on the modules and we don't get any false readings. Had to remove the air box that's here, so just two bolts in that air box and the overflow jug there, the pressure tank. This is our connector here. The best I can tell, looking at what wire colors I could see when this stuff was in, I believe this is our 1415 connector. It matches the number of pins. So let's identify the wires and then unplug it. I always feel like Sherlock Holmes when I get this thing out. Okay, so C1415 is supposed to be pin 3, which is green and orange. Okay, and that concurs here, green and orange, pin 3, and then also pin 13, which is nice because they're right across from each other, so pretty common. And pin 13 here, it says, is blue with white. And on here it is blue with white. So we need to find pin 3 and pin 13. Here's our connector layout. Put down those. I don't really feel like Sherlock Holmes when I put these on. I feel like an old man. There's a blue with a white. And then let's see here. Do we still have this tool here? We get our little Christmas tree connector out of there. Hopefully there's enough wire on this we can get it out where we can see it. Come on, man. Big old sucker. Wow, it's not agreeing with us here. We're gonna have to get a little bit more rowdy. There. Oh, it's not a Christmas tree connector. It's a big old flat sucker. Not a lot of extra. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Pop, pop, see some green. We find the smoking gun that quick. Can't see what color wire that is, so. I see some green crusties where it looks like it's rubbed through on this harness. Oh, look, this wire's been repaired before here too, whatever the heck this one is. This is a, they've done some kind of bypass, but this definitely, I don't know if this is our wire, has anything to do with what we're doing. It is, what color? Something with an orange stripe. Green with the orange. Green with orange. Is that one of our wires? My memory is about as long as my little finger here. Oh! Green with orange. Oh my gosh. We can't be that lucky, can we? Come up here to do it. I want to enhance you guys because I think we're already done with this diagnosis. Stand by. I want to give you boys and girls the money shot. Are we in the screen? Ooh yeah. That's it. She's green, she's crusty, and she's broke. That's it. Show's over. This is stupid. This is stupid. 1 hour of looking and printing and reading and learning. And 5 minutes worth of work. Isn't that the way it always goes? That is the way it goes. Let's see about getting this connector unplugged. I didn't unhook the battery yet. There you mother lover. There we go. We don't have a whole lot of wiggle room here, do we? There is a little Christmas tree connector there by the ABS. I think if we unhook it, we'll get a little bit more room here. Maybe not a lot, but some. There we go. Yeah, gives me an extra inch. Story of my life. Oh yeah, so basically it was just rubbing through. I don't know what you guys can see, probably not much. It was just rubbing through on the other part of this harness. One harness rubbing on another harness. What do you know? What do you know? What do you say, huh? Or is it what do you say? What do you know? Where's the split in this harness? I'm trying to find a split in that poly loom. I'm going to get the tape off from it so we can find the opening. There's some tape. Set that down. Boy, that would have been embarrassing to be the Ford dealer. Didn't do any diagnosis. Made an assumption. Would have banged this guy $800. And then guess what? They would have been wrong. Uh-oh, now what? Now what do you do, dealer? You're $800 deep into it and you're dead wrong. Okay, I'm going to fix that wire and then we're going to see if we regain communication. Now, we're not out of the woodwork yet, so we can't really blame the dealer because we still may have, you know, whatever this VIN number issue is. Unless, like I say, unless that code is just a code that comes up when it loses, you know, when this communication thing breaks down. Service data didn't give any indicator for that statement to be true or even plausible. But I've worked on Fords enough to know a little bit, not much, but they have an FeMF mode, failure effect management mode, that they like to go in, where they'll set a bunch of erroneous codes because something else has gone wrong. Now that's typically in the powertrain module, you'll see that. I think they call it FeMF, failure effects management mode. Something Ford's had for some time now. It's rather annoying. It can really send a guy on a wild goose chase. So I'm gonna get this peeled back, get this wire repaired, plug it back up, cut the key back on, and see what we have left. If you're curious what we're doing for repairs, the classic Ford barrel connector, and then the classic Ford heat shrink with adhesive over top of the repair. So we're using an OEM style repair here. I'm going to go through and shrink this one. I'm going to leave the wire a little bit long just used a piece of standard AWS 20 gauge in the color green. We heat that up until the adhesive oozes out, which it is. I'll let that solidify, and then I'll cut down as far as I see fit, and then add another connector on there. Keep these wires awful short. The repair's made. I've got it taped up real good. I made myself a mini roll. And then went over the harness. Of course, after the heat shrink and all that stuff dried, cooled down rather. Gotta make sure this connection is tight. There it goes, it just clicked. I think we've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. When you have connectors like this, do not fill these things full of dielectric grease. Don't. Just resist the urge to do it. You won't help anything. If anything, you'll cause problems. So these are low tension, small pins, and when you fill connectors full of dielectric grease, just guessing 90% of the time, trying to fix a problem. Dielectric grease is non-conductive. It's dielectric. It does not ever, under any circumstance, improve a connection. And I can't stress that enough. Yes, it'll help keep out moisture. It insulates the connection. That's why we use it on our spark plug wires. It insulates that connection. But yeah, dielectric grease is super terrible to jam these connectors right full of. Huge pain. I've cured more problems by cleaning all that crap out of connectors when they come in from other shops jammed full, because that's, I think, people's default mode is, you know, oh, I think it's a connector, you know, fill it full of silicone grease, ship it down the road. If you want to improve a connection, you have to use a contact enhancer, something like Stabilant 22. I'm pushing this connector back in. We didn't pull it out, but sticking it back in the fender liner where it belongs. Making sure there's no rubbish there. We've put the pin back in there where it belongs. I don't know what this was done for. Perhaps a guess. You know, they did an overlay of some sort. It goes down, heads to the back. So let me get the mass airflow plugged back in. We'll cut the key on. Maybe I'll do it before, yeah, here we can just do it like this. That's sitting there. Stick our bolts here. I just don't want to create a false code. Stick this here, plug our mass airflow in. That's the only thing we have unplugged. We can actually start the vehicle if we want to. I'm going to set this down on my cart. Let's see, before we even clear the codes, I don't know if these codes are self-clearing. I don't remember reading that portion in service data. Let's just see if they miraculously go away now. May or may not. So we're just going key on, engine off here. Driver door, check brake system, yep. I think we're gonna get the service Advance Trac. Yeah, we did, okay. One thing we didn't do is we didn't try to clear the code before, but seeing what we've seen, we know they're gonna come right back anyways. So we're gonna pull out of here, system topology. I have backed back out, but I'm going to go ahead and let it do a code scan again. Then we're going to clear the codes and see if the codes in the ABS module are now gone, and then see if the codes in the restraint control module are also gone. You cooking muffins or something?
Pumpkin pie.
Oh, it smells amazing out here. I just went out back and then I was like, man, it smells amazing. It smells like muffins. You got some pumpkin pies going on.
Yeah,
wow.
Make some makeshift pie crust. You know, the thing that goes around the edge? I don't have one of those things.
Things that go around the edge, what do you mean?
To keep your crust from burning while your pie is baking.
Don't you just put a little ring of tin foil around it or something?
Well, I didn't do that, so I tried to do that
Are you blind baking?
While it was in there.
Are you blind baking your pie crust right now?
No, the whole pie is in there.
Oh yeah, that's what I would think.
I don't think it's gonna work.
I think that works. I think you do a little tinfoil.
I think it needs to be done before, like, you put the pie in the oven.
Did you blind bake your crust?
I did.
Good, because I didn't want a soggy bottom.
No guarantee.
All right. I'm no Paul Hollywood. I'm pretty damn sexy though.
That's true.
Okay, enough screw around. That's done. Clear DTCs. Still have one remaining in the ABS module. Let's try to clear them again now that it cleared the one out of the restraint control module. And we still have one remaining. Is that the VIN? Yeah, so that's the VIN one. Man, was that problem there initially or was that created? So that's curious. That makes me wonder if when they did a PMI, did they goof something up? Does this turn on the light anyways? Does it even matter? Let's see, we're gonna recycle the key here. All right, so we still have that issue. Okay. So that's quite curious. That's, according to the letter from the Ford dealer, let's see here, I don't want to show the customer information, stand by. Where did I do with it? Okay, according to the letter from Ford, oh, I thought they said they had a U3000. Oh yeah, they said they had a U3001. We have a U3002. Now we've cured a problem. This is interesting. I might download Ford FDRS or FJDS or whatever the heck they call it and do a PMI. I'm a little suspect on that code there. You guys aren't gonna believe this. I didn't even bother showing it because I didn't think for a million years it would work. I did do a PMI with the Icon Harbor Freight scan tool, which is a launch, and it friggin' worked. So I did that prior to downloading and paying for Ford service information or Ford FDRS, the OEM scan tool, or I guess IDS is a scan tool. It's the aftermarket equivalent, allows us to do programming. So I just went into special functions, did a PMI, said that the ABS module could still talk, it inhaled the data off from it, and then it took about 30-40 seconds to rewrite the data to it, and it actually worked, which I'm blown away because I've tried to do numerous PMIs with Altel. I'm not trying to throw shade at Altel. You guys know I am an Altel guy. I love my Altels like 100%. The PMI portion of it never works. It worked. We now have no codes in the ABS module, and the light's out and everything works. The VIN number in it is now correct, and the data network between it being the ABS module and the restraint control module has been restored. It's gonna run choppy because we got the air filter and stuff out of it. But look at that, all fixed, no lights. Everybody's happy. Yeehaw. We fixed it with the Harbor Freight scan tool and a little bit of know-how. All right, we'll get this little guy tossed back together. Where did our wires go? Go down here for the mass airflow. So this kind of stinks for the car dealer. The Ford dealer making the wrong call. Like I say, I'm just glad I'm not the guy that spent the money on the module, I'll tell you that. That'd be embarrassing to have to eat an $800 job only to fix a broken wire. Okay, there's that. These all clicked back together. One thing that I always like to say, and it's something that Keith Perkins has taught me over at L1 Auto Diagnostics, is when you're working on something and you make a call, you make your diagnosis, let's say you know, I am gonna make the call on the ABS module. You need to stop for just a moment and ask yourself, if that doesn't fix it, what am I gonna do next? At that point, you need to go do that. You know, if it's a specific test that you need to do, you know, something else that you need to check, because at the end of the day, when this comes in and I slap an $800 ABS module in it and I'm wrong and I have to eat it, and if you have to do that day after day after day after day, it's going to cut into what they call your profits, and you're going to go what they call out of business. So, you know, think about that. Like I say, when it comes down to it, you say this mass airflow sensor is bad and you need to get a new one. You want to call your customer and say, I've done my testing, this is bad. If you're wrong, or if that doesn't fix it, what are you going to do next? And do that before you make the call. When you're out of that end, when you answer that with nothing, because that has to be it, then you've arrived at your problem. Okay? We're going to keep on keeping on. I'm going to give this back to this guy. He'll be happy, I'll be happy, you guys will be happy. And I'll be happier if you go in the comment section. Insta, Facebook, leave us comments down there. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.